Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session on, it's officially called Calling Accountants, Marketers, Customer Service Reps, HR Pros, and Others. This is a session here at Energy Careers 2021 that's designed to speak to those of you who may be working in another industry right now and are curious about what the energy industry has to offer. So thank you for choosing to spend the next 45 minutes of your day with us. My name is Missy Henriksen. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Energy Workforce Development. And on behalf of our organization, we're pleased to have you with us today. My job today is basically to serve as the facilitator, helping and inviting our panelists to share some of their experiences with you, and then encouraging all of you to ask any questions you may have for the group. During the remarks, I would invite you to put any questions you may have in the chat feature. And then we'll leave about 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the session, and we will go through those questions. We'll also invite anyone who may wish to come, off of mute and go ahead and ask their questions directly of the panelists. Just as a reminder, just for everyone's benefit, if you are not speaking, if you're not part of our panel, I would invite you to keep your microphone on mute. I know it seems funny that we've been at this for 18 months now, but there's always a call where we might need a reminder about that. So please consider this to be your reminder. With that, I'm going to go ahead and give the opportunity for our panelists to introduce themselves to you. And with that, I'm going to ask each of them to, identify themselves, share the name of their company, where they work, what they do, and give you a little perspective of where they came from, what industry they've transitioned from. So Mark, I'm going to put you in the hot seat first. And if you would go ahead and make those introductions, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mark Green. I currently work at Dominion Energy in the corporate intel and security space, and I'm the senior insider threat analyst for Dominion Energy. What I used to do, I was a 20-year member of the U.S. Navy, where I served on the Navy SEAL teams for 20 years, and then and how I made the transition is I left the military, went to higher education for about 4 years, and then the opportunity came that I didn't really expect in the energy industry. And I've been here for about 7 months, and it's by far it's top 5 jobs I've ever had, and very unexpected that there are so many opportunities in energy that I didn't even know were out there.
Fantastic, Mark. Thank you. I look forward to delving into why you feel that this is one of the top industries you've worked in. Next, we're going to go to Carrie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Lessa. I work for Mid-American Energy. I'm in Iowa City, Iowa currently, and I'm under the platform of Berkshire Hathaway Energy. I am an electric operations supervisor, so I supervise 17 linemen for the Iowa City area. And I am I graduated from the University of Iowa in 2005, if that dates me. I'm currently getting my master's in business at the university as well. And I would say I've been with Mid-American about 14 years, and I'm a political science major working in an engineering industry. And I've worked my way up from the gas side of the company up through the electric, and from here, who knows? But that's my background and where I started from.
Thank you for that, Carrie. Welcome. And Kaitlyn, let's go to you next.
Hi there. So my name is Kaitlyn Daly, and I am a talent acquisition business partner at Portland General Electric in Portland, Oregon. Let's see here. I currently support our It's our energy delivery group. So there's 8 different lines of business that I do have the oversight for the talent acquisition in. So it's very busy, includes engineers, environmental science, product development. So lots of different groups. It's very busy, and it very much has different things that you get to learn about. So kind of going back to what Mark was saying, there's so much in this industry, and I get to touch on just one little piece of it that has so many little tentacles. So it definitely is very interesting. My job is never boring. and the days go by very fast. What I used to do, so I've actually been in the utility industry for like, I guess 7, 8 years now, I think. I did a little stint working for an environmental consulting firm, but still kind of utility adjacent, I guess you could say. But before that, I was at Nordstrom for over 11 years in retail. And gosh, how did I make that transition? I worked full time and wanted to get into HR. I didn't want to stay in retail. That was kind of not where I saw my career going. And I sort of planned out that going into HR was a good area that you can be in that goes into a lot of different industries, very transferable skill sets that you get to utilize. So with that, I ended up sort of taking on a role at a utility in California, and that kind of launched me into this space. And like I said, I ended up going to an environmental consulting firm and then got called back into the utility area. So yeah, so it definitely is, it'll bring you back. you try and leave and it keeps calling you back. So
Thanks for that, Kaitlyn. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. And Sequoia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sequoia McGinnis. I'm very glad that the utility industry got Kaitlyn back into it. We worked together at Portland General Electric. So I also work in recruiting. I support another area of our company. So I have our IT groups, power operations, and risk management. So very busy with recruiting, a lot of jobs out there, and very interesting to learn all the things that we're working on. So keeps it fun and engaging. Previous to that, actually yesterday was my 5-year anniversary of moving to Oregon. And before that, I worked at an amusement park, actually. So I worked in an amusement park in Central California. And when I moved up here, I was looking for work. I wanted to continue my HR and recruiting career. And I saw the job opening at PGE, and they were looking for someone to help hire customer service. And that is definitely my background and passion. I've worked in, food service, HR, hiring customer service folks. So I just used that as a crossover. Didn't really know anything about working at a utility, but I figured, working with customer service, that would be a good overlap. And so now that I'm here, I've just learned so much. And again, with what Mark was saying, all these careers I had no idea even existed. So it's been really fun.
That's awesome. So Quail, let's stay with you for a second. Then I'm going to ask the same question to all the panelists. So as you all have transitioned from other industries, what benefits about careers in this industry really stand out to you, especially those that may surprise some of our listeners today? So Quail?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think something that I think about, the work is not always easy, but I like to think about what we're providing for our customers. It's such an essential service. You really notice when, you go to turn on your lights and they're not there. So thinking about how important it is to have this provided to everyone, and thinking about that we serve everyone no matter what, that really keeps me going, just thinking about how important the work that we do is, thinking about the ambitious goals we have in this industry around renewable and clean energy, and all the work it will take to get there, and how that will, literally help the world. And so just thinking about those things is not something I would have thought about before, probably. But now that I'm here, just working with super smart people that are delivering energy and all the little, like Kaitlyn, I love that word, tentacles, all those tentacles that it takes is really cool.
So I'm hearing from you like the cause, you like the purpose, and you like the people with which, with whom you have an opportunity to work.
Yeah,
Great.
definitely.
Mark, let's go to you next on this question.
So what I was really surprised about when I went through the hiring process and finally got on board on Dominion Energy, it was really surprising. It's a company of over 25,000 employees, and just how much they they want you when they hire you, they want you to come on board, but they also have this really interesting way of making you feel welcome and you want to stay and they want you to stay, right? So they want you to go as far as you can in the company. They provide everything they can so you can succeed. I think the average employee stays at Dominion for 13 years, which is a really, people like to stay there. And there are leadership opportunities and there's just room for growth. But, you know, being such a big company, it was really surprising how much they actually give to the community as well. I mean, they provide you volunteer hours that you don't have to take a vacation day. They have tons of philanthropy and they just have really the pulse of Richmond, which is where we're headquartered. But then you go out and it's really just, it's called the Dominion Way, and it's really just a really strong culture to provide a service, of course, but also provide a really great working environment for the employees. And then, like I said, the opportunity to grow and move throughout a big company was really surprising to me, because in the military, it's big and it's clumsy and it takes a long time to get things done. But you let Dominion know what you want to do, and they have 10 people who are like, hey, how can we help you get to that point?
Yeah, that's something I do hear from a lot of industry professionals, that they have, 10 jobs all with the same company, because once you learn whatever a particular area is, the opportunities to get the training to move you on to something else that will interest you and where you have the opportunity to grow and contribute is really almost a hallmark of this industry. I also heard from you that the warmth, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it's really lots of cutting edge stuff.
Yeah.
That I had no idea. I mean, I was in the military, now I'm basically a tech guy, but, and I never thought that would be an opportunity for me.
That's awesome. So I've heard technology, leadership, advancement opportunities, the culture, the warm welcome you received, advancement opportunities, and then certainly that spirit of volunteerism that I think is another hallmark for the industry, that giving back to the communities. Thank you for that. Carrie?
So I'm right there with Mark, where our company does a really good job of growing employees and moving them on through different positions and allowing them to go where their heart takes them, where their interests lie. And for me, like I said, I was a political science major, and I had just come off a losing presidential campaign, and realized that I didn't want to work in politics anymore. So I got on through Mid-American as a temp. I was at the very bottom, and I've made my way up through gas and electric to the leadership role that I'm in now. And that has been, it's been a challenge, but at the same time, there has been opportunity, and there's been a lot of leadership and help, I guess, people there willing to help and willing to give you their knowledge to help you grow. So I really had a very good experience through my career and being able to have many different positions to get where I'm at. So I think that is one of my favorite things. Is there's so much we can do in the utility industry with renewables, with electricity, gas. There's just the possibilities are endless on where you can take your career. And on top of that is also the stability that the utility industry provides, because these jobs are, I mean, everyone needs electricity, so far anyways, and we need these utilities in order to survive. So these positions are always going to be out here for people to be able to stay in. And if you're the type of person who doesn't necessarily want to hop from company to company, but would rather grow within a company, this is a great industry to go ahead and do that in. And they also provide you opportunities, or at least my company does, to further your education if you decide that, okay, well, maybe my background doesn't present the best to go into the next role, but what can I do in order to help myself grow and maybe achieve that next step? And that's where I'm going back and I'm getting my master's, and I'm getting education assistance through my company in order to do that, which is so helpful considering, you know, how much education costs nowadays, and thinking about, oh my gosh, taking on student loans again after so long. So really been very lucky in my career and thankful for everything that's been afforded to me with the resources this company provides.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And Kaitlyn, I know it's tough to go forth in this cycle here because there's probably a lot of things you want to say, me too, me too, me too. But anything else you'd like to add to the benefits that the industry offers and anything that may surprise others?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can just echo all of what everyone has said. I know for me, because I, made the move a couple years ago to come back, and uh, it is the purpose, right? You just walk into, my little office now, and just have that sense of doing something better for the world, directly, right? Especially with a lot of the utilities, um, greenhouse goals, and, all the clean energy, all the technology that's going into it. I mean, those are huge things that I don't think a lot of people realize that, these utilities are doing. The stability piece, I think, is what, it's kind of always been there. But what they're not seeing, like, out in the world, is that, like, we're using cutting edge technology for our systems, and we need those, programmers and stuff. But we're not as glamorous as some of the big tech companies, but I think the work we do is much cooler, because it has so much impact on everyone, day in and day out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything new to add. I mean, most utilities, they support their employees, very well. Benefits are generally pretty strong in a utility industry. There's tuition reimbursement. The community outreach is great. We, serve our customers. That's how we sustain our business. And, a lot of them do a lot for the communities that they're in. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Mark, I know you've mentioned that you are a veteran. Thank you for your service. And there are actually a lot of veterans that do work in the energy industry. About 10% of our workforce has formerly served. Why do you think that, I guess I would say, what particular skill sets do you think veterans bring into the energy industry, that seem to make it such a natural next choice for careers?
So a little bit more about my background, which is, I have this bachelor's in criminology, right? So then I was in the middle of my naval career and climbing that ladder, and then I was like, well, hey, you need to go get an MBA. I was like, okay, well, we'll get an MBA. And then when I was at the University of Southern California, I was like, well, I'm here. Why don't I just go to school? So I got a master's in public policy. And then all of a sudden, looking at this industry, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I fit in here? And once I got here, it's like, well, structurally, every organization needs strong leadership, needs good employees that can really diversify and bring in a lot of flexibility. There's everything you do in the military is a team, and as I found out here, everything I do is team oriented. I'm not doing anything by myself. The organization has a mission, they have a goal, they have a culture that they're really proud of. And so when you come in as a veteran, all those skills that you learn in the military are transferable almost right away. You just have to learn the nuance of the organization. So not knowing the energy industry, really, my director speaks on the Hill a lot. So I can literally walk up and say, how does distribution work, or how does nuclear work, or how does the policy of renewables and government contracts, and because the energy industry is in so many pots and they're regulated in so many different ways. So they can say, hey, Mark, we need you to, I know you're working in corporate intel, but we know you have a policy background. So what do you think about this policy and how can we shape it? You know, and then I'll sit in on that and then I'll go back to doing my other thing. And then I speak business and then, you know, we have a lot of investigations and people want to kind of damage infrastructure. So how does your criminology background and how does your special operations background come into it? And it's really the leadership part of it, the collaboration part of it, you know, the diversity and inclusion part of it, and then, hey, just go do stuff, be tenacious in what you're going to do, and don't wait for somebody to ask you to do something, and just be proactive. And throughout any industry, be it education, be it military, higher education, those are skills that are transferable right away. So you're not learning the industry from the basics. You already have this very huge wealth of knowledge and experience to draw from that you really just say, okay, how does leadership play a role in what I'm doing right now? So being in the industry, I'm not going to show up as a director because I don't know the industry well enough. However, I can take all the steps that I need to do other projects, make myself available, be eager to learn. And so many veterans have all that inherent in them to thrive in the military. And then once you come out, you know, what do you bring to the table? It's like, I think I bring all this. And then now Dominion's like, yes, you're very valuable. So you do bring all these things. So let's enhance what you already have so it fits into our culture. And then instead of starting at step 1, I came in at step 8. You know, I don't have to learn all these different things. I come in so I can really focus on what I'm doing and learning and being uncomfortable learning my new job. And but you know, you always have this family and camaraderie to kind of help you through it.
Yeah, that I think each veteran brings unique qualities and abilities to the energy sector. You've talked about leadership. You've talked about that family. You're used to kind of being part of a team and working with a family. I know for veterans that may come over into skilled trade positions in our industry, a very natural fit for so many. They're used to working outdoors. They're used to some challenging outdoor conditions and would have it no other way. Love being outside, love being in the weather. And so very natural fit into skilled trade positions. I think it's the leadership that the military teaches, the work ethic, the initiative, all of those things I think are very valued. So thank you for sharing a little light on that, or shedding a little light on that. Carrie, I'm going to go to you next. I know from an earlier conversation you and I had, you talked a little bit about sometimes you need to take a step backwards in your career in order to then take many steps forward. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So kind of like what I was talking about earlier, I graduated from college, and after interning for a campaign, decided, oh my gosh, you know, this isn't what I want to go into anymore. So it's a little late at that point. And I needed to find somewhere that I could grow a career. And it was about the same time frame that we were starting to go into a recession. So it was pretty tough to find that right fit to get into the front door. And with the position I got here at Mid-American with the temp position, it didn't require anything that I had gone to school for. There was no education requirements. It was pretty as entry level as it could be. And so I was working at a level that I felt like I could have come in as something higher, but you know, I needed to get my foot in the door. So I came in, worked at that, and worked hard at it, and was then able to get my next position, and then it just kind of dominoes from there. But at the same time, when I was looking to make a transition from natural gas, because that's where I got into a position where I started designing natural gas distribution systems, I really wanted to get into electric. So I made a lateral move to Iowa City from Cedar Rapids, which is not too far away from the city I'm in now, and took that move in order to start learning a new principle to further my career. And it was a good step because now I'm leading linemen. So I think that not every step that you take in your career needs to be one where it's you're going for the raise or you're going for the promotion. It needs to be one that's to further your education, to further your knowledge, to make yourself more of a whole rounded person as in the utility industry. And I think that was probably one of the best steps that I've made in my career, was making that lateral transition into electric and just diving headfirst into becoming a newbie all over again. I had several years of learning gas. I was becoming quite proficient at it. And then here I'm like, oh, let's take on this new challenge and be completely new again and have to ask all the questions all over again. But like I said, it really served me well, and I'm very happy that I made that move.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, Quoia, I know you mentioned you're a recruiter. There are several folks that are joining us today that are sitting in another office or another industry looking at how they may be able to best present themselves in order to get that first job in the energy sector. What advice would you offer to them about how they can present those old skills in new ways, or how they can articulate those skills so they are seen as being transferable?
Yeah, I think one thing to note when you're looking at job postings is that is most likely what a hiring manager wants out of the perfect person, the most ideal. And it doesn't necessarily mean that because you don't have 100% of those competencies or skills that you won't be a fantastic candidate. So I think one thing to do is to notice what those skills that they're looking for, those competencies, call out the ones that you do have and make it really easy for the recruiter and the hiring manager to notice. And then any that maybe you don't have or not as strong, you can kind of either find something adjacent to that, like using veteran experience, volunteer experience, maybe something that you have in some other way, or just calling that out, calling out how you would be a strong candidate, maybe in a cover letter. And I think it's important also, Mark mentioned that he didn't have that utility experience when he came in. And I actually think that a lot of times that's really valuable for us. We have a long tenure as well. People have been here, 10, 20, 30. I've seen some employees that have been here 40 plus years. And that is really valuable, but it's also valuable to have people with a different perspective. They'll see things in a different way. And so I think calling out the things that you have that overlap, and then also calling out what you can bring. I know in our call center, we hire a lot of people that come from the food service industry too, because if you've ever worked in the food service industry, you have to multitask, you have to be really patient, you have to have excellent customer service. There's all these things that really make you a fantastic employee and worker, that you don't necessarily have to have those. And then I think finding sometimes those way in, because once you can kind of get in, there's all these paths that can open up to you. And as you build on your utility knowledge, that opens the doors for other opportunities. So I think seeing where you can come in, seeing what you have, and then showing how those will overlap into the other skills that you have and the different perspectives.
Thank you for sharing that. Kaitlyn, I'm going to go to you next. And I think the answer you're going to probably want to give to my question is everything. But can you give a little light in terms of the skill sets that are most in demand and most in need in the industry today?
Yeah, so I think if 2020 and 2021 has taught us anything, I think flexibility and adaptability are probably the most in-demand skills you could probably be asking for right now, right? Especially going forward when we're still in this kind of unknown state of the world, so to speak. I do a lot of recruiting for technical skill sets. I see that in pretty much every single role that comes through, even my non-technical jobs. Like, programming language. I like my financial analysts do programming language. I'm like, why? But I think it's just, as far as that goes, it's really adaptability. Collaboration is a huge one. I do think each job has specific skills that they are looking for, but it's really those soft skills you're going to want to hone in on and kind of showcase when you do present your resume and when you are presenting yourself in an interview. And those are really the hardest type of skills to get across on a resume. But yeah, Carrie's done a great job with her continuous learning, right? So she's in it for a master's right now. Mark, same thing. Just being able to kind of see progression is always a great thing, to just develop that. And however you can take your life experience and articulate that over to growth and development, and knowing that you're not just gonna, kind of stay stagnant in a position. And I think the innovation piece is a big skill that our companies are looking for right now too. I know, as I mentioned earlier, we aren't just going against other utilities for talent. We're going against some of the big tech companies. We are doing a lot of innovative work, and we need those kind of big thinkers to be able to try and get us to that next phase, right? Coming up with these virtual power plants and, these electric islands, like those weren't just, small tasks that were done. It was a lot of people pulling a lot of creativity out. And so really, it's those types of skills and that mindset that we're really looking for, instead of somebody that just really wants to kind of come in and, do a job every day and go home, right? So.
Perfect. Thank you. We've got about a little less than 15 minutes left in our time together. So to our audience members, I would invite you to drop any questions you may have in the chat. We'll go through those and a couple final ones we have for our panelists as well. One thing I'd like to probe on with the group, and I'll just throw it out to all of you together. We hear a lot that there's never been a more exciting time to work in the energy industry than now. In fact, Secretary Granholm, Secretary of Energy, said in her opening comments this morning during this event that this is one of the most exciting times she's ever seen to be part of the energy industry. And think she gave the analogy of, we're on a rocket ship, and come aboard our rocket ship and go with us. What do you all have to say about that? Why do you think this is described as the most exciting time to be part of the energy industry?
I wouldn't mind starting with that, just because I feel very excited for what my company, Mid-American Energy, and not necessarily, well, all of Berkshire Hathaway Energy is great. Mid-American Energy, though, currently, as of 2020, we had delivered about 83% of all of our energy through renewables to our customers. And we're really shooting for a goal of 100% providing renewable energy to our customer base. And I think that is just amazing from where I had started at the beginning of my career, where it was just kind of, there was a few windmills up here and there, to where now you can drive through the state of Iowa and you'll hit I-80 and you'll see windmills like all down the interstate. And it's just a really neat thing to see. And we're also investing in the solar technology and batteries. And it's something that it's like the next thing to jump into. So like I said, I've done gas and I'm doing electric, and now it's like, oh, there's this renewable challenge out here, right? This whole new thing to learn, and to see this time where it looks like we're about to make another leap in history and go into a new technology and a new resource is just, for me, it's very exciting to see something like that.
Awesome. Mark, what do you think about that? What do you think that this is such an innovative time? And I know you're a newer comer to the industry, but what do you think is so captivating about the space right now?
I think that there are so many really just complex you see a wind farm, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool out there. But there's so much thought that goes into that, and so much redundancy, and so much thought and forethought. You're just like, man, they really think about how to provide a service and how to maintain it. And, then at the same time, you're trying to get more efficient and then look 10, 15, 20 years into the future. So it's moves so fast. And then the people that come into this industry and thrive also move really quickly and are very innovative. And it's like, it pushes you to, think outside of what you're comfortable with. But, and, since I've been here, kind of my mantra has been the best idea wins. It could come from somebody who just showed up or somebody who's been here, like, hey, we have this problem, put it out on the table, and then the best idea wins, and then it's just, that's really a very interesting way to approach problem solving. But it's really keeping up with technology, which is ever moving and very fast. And then getting into the energy industry, it's also very fast, which I mean, I think that's really cool. But before I get off, I have to shout out to the gentleman who got me started was Matt Kellum. He just showed up. So Matt, I see you. And thank
I
you.
saw your fan club had arrived. I did see that in the chat feature.
He's awesome.
And I will just mention, we were talking about transitioning from military service earlier, and I know Matt Kellum does serve as a military recruiter for his company. So if there are any vets on the call or on the session today, please feel free to drop a note in there. I'm sure Matt would be happy to answer your questions. I'm going to go to some of the questions in the chat right now. I'd throw this out to the group. The question is, are there opportunities for international job applicants looking to change careers into the energy industry? So Quoia, maybe we'll start with you if we could.
Yeah, I would say yes. Especially in this kind of market, we're looking for the best talent. We're looking for the people that can help us move forward with transportation electrification projects, renewable projects, and it really takes a village to get this done. So yeah, depending on the role, I think there's some great opportunity to transition from international.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, join it.
For those of you that are just coming on the line, if you could please mute your phones. Thank you. Okay, another question coming in. We have a lot of folks joining us. Let me just let them in and then we'll go on to the next questions. Sorry, the multitasking of being the host and the question reader here. Kaitlyn, I'm going to direct this question to you. The person has indicated that they missed the beginning of this session, but you mentioned virtual power plants. Is that a generation owner level or subcontractor level? The writer says, I've seen First Solar's virtual control center. It mimics Con Ed's control center that worked in New York City. Any thoughts on opportunities in that space?
So I can just, opportunities in that space. So as far as, I'm trying to understand the question a little bit better, but I know there's going to be for PGEs, we're looking at all different mixes of that, right? But the virtual power plants, get integrated into the grid. I don't know if like your subcontractor, I mean, I would assume that there's going to be opportunities at both control centers, if that's what you're asking. I mean, is that, I'm sorry, is that kind of what the question is?
I would invite, if that is your question, if you'd like to come off, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask directly, that would be most welcome.
Yes, hi. Okay, my name is Teresa Herring, and I worked at both Con Edison and First Solar. And I'm not looking to go back to those companies, but I've also have an IT background, and I now work in renewables. So I see our company, Blattner Energy, recently did a battery plant connected to the new solar generation level plant that we made in Odessa, Texas. And I know there's a niche somewhere where folks are monitoring that remotely, but I can't, maybe I just don't have the expertise or haven't researched properly where that niche is.
So I kind of get your question, and I don't know if I have the answer to that, because to your point, yes, we actually have a Wheat Ridge facility. So it's a generation plant. It's wind, solar, and battery storage. And you're asking where like our control center would be for that. And I don't actually have that information, but I actually believe it's in Salem, which is actually managed by a third-party contractor. So, so yeah, I would have to follow back up with you on that component for the virtual power plants and whether or not their control centers are going to be managed by the actual utilities or if they'll be third-party contractors.
Okay, I appreciate that. Is there a way like I can connect to you then?
Yeah, definitely. I will shoot my information in the chat. Or Missy, do you send it out to everybody?
No, if you wouldn't mind putting your information in the chat, that would be great, Kaitlyn. Thank you. We are going to close our session up in just a second here. And before we let everyone head off to the next sessions that they'll be attending today, I would like to ask our panelists just to go around the room here and share just a word of advice or two for our career changers in this session. Whatever you might say as a best piece of advice on networking, resume development, but how would you recommend people take that first step from transitioning from whatever they're doing now to a career in energy? Carrie, let's start with you.
So I think the best piece of advice is just be flexible and adaptable. Coming from the different backgrounds I did and jumping from different types of principles, I think what you need to make sure that you want to do is make yourself available to those positions. Show that you're willing to grow and show that you're willing to learn, because the people that show that interest are the ones that I'm referring to what Kaitlyn was saying earlier, showing that enthusiasm and that ability to want to take on the next challenge. Those are the people that the industry is really looking for. They're not looking for that one person just to sit in that same chair, just be happy what they're doing day in, day out. They want people that are going to be motivated to continue on through their careers and continue to learn and continue to provide just a really good service to their company.
Perfect. Thank you. Mark?
Don't be afraid to market yourself or not brag on yourself, but just highlight what you're competent in and what you're confident in. That was a big lesson I learned as I was leaving the military. And I would just dance around everything I did. And I was like, oh yeah, I was a SEAL too. And one of my mentors was like, why don't you lead with that? And so many military people and veterans just want to kind of put that into the background and hey, it's not, I served my country and I did it proudly, but there's, you need to market yourself and let people know that, hey, I'm confident and I'm competent and here's where I want to work and here's where I'm going to be an asset, and specify what you're good at. Coming out and saying, oh, I can do anything. That's great, but, tailor it to the job you're seeking and tailor it to your audience. So you might have to have 5 or 6 resumes, and Matt made me develop 3 or 4 different resumes, and that was really valuable. So that's the best piece of advice I can get.
And look at you now, right? Thanks. Sequoia?
Yeah, I would say be definitely open to networking and, even different groups, like CEWD is great. I find for some of my IT roles through IT groups and kind of tech roles, and that's always kind of interesting because I think it was brought up earlier, people are maybe not thinking about us as doing cool tech things. So I think being open to any networking opportunity, joining groups, thinking about different ways to have an entry point. Like there's some great internship programs. We're starting to look at different ways as well. We just started a job rotation. So we hired 5 people to that wanted to kind of change their careers into IT. And so they'll get to work in 3 different areas of the company and learn different disciplines. So I think this is also a great time because companies are getting a little more creative and thinking a little differently than maybe they were traditionally. I know that we'll be hiring more pre-apprentice and apprentices for our line worker programs. So I think this is a great time to get in.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And I'm going to give you the last word of the session here, Kaitlyn.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of piggyback off what Quoia just said and put a plug in for the trades. That is definitely something not to overlook. There are some great careers in the trade industry within the utilities for sure that are very rewarding. But my last tip of advice is just don't give up. If it's something that you're really passionate about and you want to do it, just continue trying. And, you know, again, you may have to consider taking a step back or laterally to get that, you know, step forward eventually. But if it's something that you really, really want, you should do it.
Fantastic. It's a good way to end the session today. And I will just add that the industry is expected to hire hundreds of thousands of positions over the next several years, depending on which report you look at, which data you use. Some are saying that the size of our workforce will double in the next X number of years. So there is incredible opportunity in this industry, regardless of what you're looking for, whether it's an engineering position, skilled trade position, customer service, HR, operations. There are just so many different opportunities. And as you've heard our panel speak today, once you get that foot in the door, really the world is your oyster. There's so many different opportunities to grow your career based on what you find your passion to be within the industry. So we would encourage you to take that first step, and you've got lots of resources here within the virtual platform to help you on your way. I would encourage you to visit our exhibit hall. We've got exhibitors from coast to coast. They are talking about internships, apprenticeships, and certainly jobs that are available today and careers for the future. Thank you for being with us today, and a special thank you to all of our panelists for sharing their words of advice and their expertise. Best wishes to each of you for the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.